Everyone, it's Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet our no worry monster and also explain to you about the Lovey that goes along with the no worry monster. Now the no worry monster came about when I was discussing with a friend her son going to camp for the first time, and he was a little nervous about leaving his stuffed animal. And so we came up with this idea to make just a little monster that he could hide maybe in his pillowcase that his other friends wouldn't see. And also we named it the No Worry Monster because she said to me, I just wish he wouldn't worry and have fun. Now you can find the crochet pattern for the No Worry Monster in the link underneath this video, as well as the matching Lovey. And we'll talk more about the matching Lovey to go with the No Worry Monster a little farther on in the video. The No Worry Monster is made from blanket yarn. This one and the Lovey are made with the Red Heart Sweet Home, and then the white portion is made with Burnette Blanket. This one is all made with Burnette Blanket with just some scraps that I had left over from making a previous project. And so you can use any Burnette blanket or blanket yarns as long as they're a number 6 bulky blanket yarn. Mix and match and come up with your own options for your No Worry Monster and use up what's left over from other projects. It's a great and fun thing to make, maybe for your grandkids or your kids who are starting school, or like this young man who's getting ready to go to camp for the first time. You're also going to need just a little bit of regular worsted weight yarn for the mouth of the monster. It's just a cute little V-shaped smile. You can use any worsted weight yarn that you have on hand, or you can make it another color if you want to, and you'll need a needle so we can sew that on to the face. You're also going to need 2 safety eyes. And I've got just a big combination of different eyes here that I got from online. I just ordered a variety of colors and styles. And so these measure, I was going to show you, less than an inch. About ½ an inch for those. And these are about little less than ½ an inch. And so you can use any size of the safety eyes that you prefer. One thing to keep in mind, if you're going to make this for a baby or a child that might want to chew those off, you can also embroidery those eyes on as well. I just really liked using the safety eyes for this project. Now, as far as the colors of yarn, those are totally up to you. You can see I used 3 colors. A variegated and a cream, and then a solid teal, and then this one has the teal and the orange and the red. So again, use whatever colors of yarn that you have on hand. And you're also going to need just a little bit of stuffing, and I say about a handful, because you don't want it to be stuffed too tightly. You want it to be squishy and soft and huggable. All right, now if you want to make the matching Lovey to slide your monster in, I used one of these. I'm going to show you here. It has 10½ ounces, and I made the Lovey and the monster with just the one skein of this Red Heart Sweet Home. And that, like I said, is 10½ ounces. So that can give you an idea if you want to make the matching Lovey blanket. All right, now we're going to be crocheting with our K-hook. The K-hook is a 6.50 millimeter crochet hook. Most of these will call for a 10 millimeter, but I'm using the 6.5 because I want the stitches to be nice and tight so that you can't see any of the stuffing coming through. For today's demonstration, I'm going to be using these 3 colors. This pink for the head portion of my monster, and then I'm going to make the body portion with this pink and red and dark pink, and then I'm going to trim it with the red. And again, I'll be using my K-hook, which is a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook, and don't forget your scissors. We're going to be making a front and a back for our little monster. And here's one I already have made. You can see the top is pink and the bottom portion is the pink and red and dark pink. And I've got one made, and so now I'm going to show you how to make the other one. And they're made exactly the same. I'm going to start with the top of the head and work my way down to the body. So we'll make our slip knot. And then we're going to chain 8 chains. And I do recommend when working with the blanket yarn, this beginning chain, you chain just a little bit loose. There's 6, 7, and 8. Now again, we're at the top of the head and we're going to work our way down to the body of the monster. We're going to skip this first chain and begin stitching in the second chain from the hook. And we're going to place 1 single crochet in each of those stitches. And since we chained 8 and we're starting in the second chain from the hook, we're going to have 7 single crochets. All right, there's my 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We're going to chain 1 and turn. Now on this next row, row 2, we're going to increase by 1 single crochet at the beginning and end of this row. So in the first single crochet, and just a note, the chain 1 does not count as a stitch. We'll go in the first single crochet and stitch 2 single crochets. So there's 1 and 2. Now we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in the stitches across. All right. Now when we get to this last stitch, we're going to stitch 2 single crochets in this last stitch. And so now we went from having 7 single crochets to having 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Chain 1 and turn. All right, so now we're going to increase again. We'll put 1 single crochet in each stitch across, and we'll put 2 single crochets in the first and 2 single crochets in the last. And that's going to take us from 9 to 11 single crochets. So right in this first single crochet, we'll stitch 2 single crochets, 1 in each of the stitches across. There we go. Here's our last single crochet, and we're going to stitch 2. All right, so let's count again. And remember, when counting, it's easiest if you count the chains at the top, or it's the top chain or braid. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 single crochets. And this is how you should have after row 3. All right, let's chain 1 and turn. And we're not going to increase anymore. Now we've got the shape of the top of our head. We're going to do 3 rows of just 1 single crochet in each of the single crochets across. And so our stitch count will stay at 11 single crochets. So 1 single crochet in each stitch across. We'll have 11 single crochets. We'll chain 1 and turn and repeat this for 2 more rows after this row. So no more increasing. So 2 more rows of chain 1, turn, 1 single crochet in each stitch across. I've completed those last 2 rows, and you should have a total of 6 rows of the pink. And now we're going to cut our yarn because we're finished with the pink. We're going to bring in our new color, and I'm using a variegated. Now, you don't have to change colors here if you don't want to. If you want your monster to be all one color, you can leave it, because an all one color monster is cute as well. All right, I'm going to bring in my new color. I'm using that variegated that I talked about, and then I'm going to do my chain 1. And remember, when changing colors, always do that chain 1 after you join in. Now, for row 7, we're going to increase at the beginning and end of this row only. So we'll go in that first single crochet and we'll stitch 2 single crochets. And this is just to bring the body of the monster out just a little bit. We'll single crochet in each of the stitches across. And then when we get to that last single crochet, we're going to stitch 2 single crochets in that last stitch. And this is going to take us from 11 single crochets to 13. Chain 1 and turn. And we're not going to increase anymore. We wanted to just have those 13 stitches so the body comes out just a little bit. All right, so we'll go right in that first stitch of the next row, and we'll stitch 1 single crochet in each of the single crochets across. And again, we'll have 13 single crochets. And remember, no increasing at the end either, just 1 single crochet in that last stitch. Chain 1 and turn. We're going to continue to repeat what we did here on row 8 for 6 more rows. We'll chain 1, turn, and 1 single crochet in each single crochet across, chain 1 and turn for 6 more rows until we have a total of 8 rows of the bottom portion of the body. We have 6 rows for the head portion and then 8 rows for the body portion. 1 single crochet in each single crochet across, chain 1 and turn, and repeat. I've completed those 8 rows, so I have 6 rows for the head of my monster and 8 rows for the body of my monster. And remember, you need 2, a front and a back. All right, I'll move that one out of the way. Here's the one we're working on. I've cut my yarn and I'm going to tie off. And something, it's a little bit difficult when you're trying to weave in your ends with blanket yarn. So what I do is I pull it to the inside and I try to weave it in the colors that match. And since we're making a stuffed monster, I'm not going to worry about cutting them off. I'm just going to leave them in on the inside or the back side of my project, because like I said, this is going to be on the inside and we're going to stuff it. Same thing with this one. I'm just going to weave it in to the back so that it's the back of my project. Now this one's quite long, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that just to get it out of the way. Alright, so here's the front. Before we join the two pieces together, I want to go ahead and add the safety eyes and the mouth. I've chosen to use the little blue eyes, and let me grab one of these over here so that you can see I've put the eyes pretty close together, and I like to do that because I think it makes it look a little bit cuter. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're just going to decide where we want to put the eye. Let me move that guy out of the way there. And on this one, we counted down 1, 2, 3 rows. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to place them first before I put the back on. Oh, there it is. To see if I like where I've got them. Because once you put the back on, you can't move them. Okay, so I like that. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over. And I'm just going to take it and push it on there. And you push until you hear it snap. Alright, here's the other one. Alright, they're both snapped in place. And one thing to remember, if you're going to give this to a baby, make sure you just embroider the eyes on, just in case it might want to chew on those eyes. Alright, now we're going to make the cute little mouth, and you can see it's just a little V-stitch. And so we're going to go down a row, kind of centered to that eye a little bit. And you'll notice I've got my yarn doubled. This is the worsted weight black and my needle. I'm just going to go down and come back up and try to go in a stitch, not in a hole, or your mouth will disappear. Okay. And it's just a cute little V-stitch. And then I'm going to go to the back, and I'm just going to tie a little knot. I'm not worried about it coming out because it's going to be on the inside of my monster. Alright, and then we'll just cut those strings. And there's my little monster face. So now I've got the front of my monster and the back of my monster ready, and you can decide front or back on those. We're just going to lay them together, and we're going to start down here on this side, and we're going to single crochet working all the way around the monster to this other side. Then we'll put the stuffing in and close it up across the bottom. Alright, so I've got my two monsters together, front and back. I'm going to go right in this corner here and right in this corner here. And I'm using just a solid red to sew the two of mine together. So I'm going to pull my hook through. Alright. And then we can take this tail and just stuff it inside our monster. Alright, so what we're going to be doing is trying to put one single crochet in the end of each stitch. Alright, so we'll go to the next one. Because remember, we don't have stitches to go into because we're going into the sides of the stitch. Now, there is not a set amount of stitches that you should do. It's up to you. It's just called evenly single crocheting up the side. And what you want to do is make your stitches close so that it closes up, going through both thicknesses, front and back, but you don't want there to be too much space because you don't want your stuffing to be shown from the side. So you're just going to have to eyeball it a little bit. And one thing that I do is I try to make sure the head is lined up at the side. And you may have to ease it up or down just a little bit just to help the monster look even. Alright, and then I'll just continue working around the top of the head. And remember, when you're going around a curve like that, you may have to add a few more stitches for it to lay nice, opposed to just going up the side of your monster. All right, because we're going around the top of the head and we want it to lay nicely. So you may have to add an extra stitch or two. We want this little monster to be able to be thrown around the room and played with without worrying about its stuffing coming out. See how that's looking? All right, so I'm going to continue working around the side of my monster. I'm going to make sure the side is lined up over here and then work back down to here. And then I'll show you how to stuff it and close it up. I've single crocheted all the way around the monster, leaving the bottom open for stuffing, making sure my stitches were even. When you get back to the other side, don't cut your yarn. I usually just make a nice big loop so it doesn't come out. All right, and now we're going to take our monster and stuff it. And I take a handful and I push it all the way up to the head. And then I take another handful and put it in the body. Now, it's up to you how much stuffing you want to put in there. I don't put a lot because I want him to be squishy and able to be loved on and hugged. And we're going to come back over here where we ended, put our hook back in that loop, and then we're going to finish closing up our monster just by stitching across the bottom. And the nice thing about this is we have those stitches to work in. So we can just easily single crochet across the bottom, closing up our little monster. We're still stitching single crochets. I've closed up the bottom of my monster, stitching one single crochet in each stitch, going through both sides. I'm going to join to that first single crochet and tie off. All right, now what I do to pull this in is I go to the back of the monster and I go through like this with my crochet hook, and I'll pull it to the back. And then I'll just go down under and pull that to the inside of the monster. For me, when I'm working with the blanket yarns, pulling it in that way works a lot better than using a needle. Even if you have a great big needle, for me, I like using the crochet hook for the blanket yarn. The last thing we're going to do to our little monster is add those little hairs at the top. So I've cut a 10-inch piece of the yarn in 3 of the colors. And so I'm going to grab them in the center. I'm going to go in the center, put my hook through, pull those 3 through, and then pull the tails of those yarns through that loop. All right, then I'm going to snug that down nice and tight so I know that that is not going to come out. All right, and then I'm just going to give them a little bit of a haircut. And the length of that, of course, is up to you. That way they've got some crazy hair on the top of their little monster. So here are the 3 no worry monsters that I made just using different blanket yarns. If you want to add a Lovey to that, I already have a Lovey pattern out there. And basically this pattern starts with a chain 12, and then you're going to stitch a basic granny square. The only difference is you're going to have 2 stitches for each of your blocks instead of 3. And I'll link that pattern up so that you can make this Lovey if you want to. And the way it works is you take your little monster and you squeeze his little head, and then you push it through that little chain 12 circle. And it is going to be a tight fit because you want that little monster to stay put. All right, so there he is, or she, whichever you're making. So that's the little monster, the little no worry monster. If you want to make one to give as a gift with the Lovey, it makes a wonderful baby shower gift or birthday gift. And like I said, it also makes a gift for a child who's worried about going to camp or school or maybe to grandma's for the first time.